Hi everyone, my name's Dr. Kevin Vento. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist working in South London and Maudsley Trust. I'm based in Croydon and I'm also the Psychosis Pathways lead. Welcome today. Welcome to today's broadcast. It's going to be a very exciting one, and it's one of a series of broadcasts exploring how psychologists and psychotherapists from a wide range of backgrounds and practices are working with local community groups to build on their strengths and help make our communities more resilient. Most of the work of preventing the development of mental health problems happens outside of mental health services. It happens in the communities, and it's really important to recognise that. And these broadcasts are actually here to showcase some of that great work that's happening in communities. This week, we've got another bit of work that's going on between Southwark IAPT and a community organisation. So, and this community organisation's called Mummies Republic, and I've got some great speakers here that will be telling us all about the work that they've been doing. And what I'd like to do is just kind of just introduce people. So starting off with Leila, can you introduce yourself?
Unmute myself. Hi, I'm Leila. I'm a accredited cognitive behavioural psychotherapist. I work with Vento in Therapies, Southwark. I'm also a mum of 3. What we do there is we assess and treat common mental difficulties within talking therapies. I'm very excited to be here this afternoon.
Thanks, Leila. Winnie, can you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Winnie Bafoe. I am a Methodist pioneer and coordinator of Mummies Republic, and I too am very happy to be here.
And Annick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, so my name is Annick Zan-Bi. I'm a healthcare assistant and I'm a mother of 1, and I'm very happy to be here also, so yeah.
Okay. So we want to start off today's broadcast with a bit of a discussion around, well, tell me about Mummies Republic. So I know nothing about it, and I think it would be quite good if Winnie, you could just talk a bit about your organisation, maybe how it sort of started off. Yeah,
sure. So Mummies Republic is an expression of Christian engagement outside of a Sunday. The Methodist Church invests its resources in working with marginal groups to ensure that everyone, where possible, can be a part of community. And so outside of COVID-19, what we traditionally do is we hold an after-school weekly meal, and this is to negate food, isolation and poverty as well. Food poverty and isolation, sorry. And in doing so, we also hold homework clubs to support each other with our children's homework. And at the end of the evenings, our mothers have 1 hour together without their children, just to have that 5 minutes worth of peace. And it's within this hour that we then come to uncover how everyone's well-being is during the course of the week. And it's from that learning that we feed into the IAPT services. Because if someone is feeling of poor mood, poor mental health, we know that we need intervention beyond what we can do ourselves. So we then begin to communicate with the IAPs through that service.
Okay, can I just ask, Winnie, yes, what inspired you to come up with this? It sounds fantastic. It sounds really, really good. What kind of motivated you to start this?
Okay, so this came out of lived experience. I came to identify that women of Black and ethnic minority origins and women of low income struggled with civic engagement and community participation, particularly after the demise of the Sure Starts. At church, if they attended, naturally their babies would cry during service and households would receive negative attention. at play groups. Some had become mostly or exclusively white middle class, with professional women on maternity leave or their au pairs becoming the majority of the users. And therefore the poverty and employment gap left little common ground. And put in simple terms, where invites stretched from affluent households to this group, they were too shy to invite people home as overcrowding was an issue. Whilst coffee shops were neutral ground, the cost of a cup in South East 1 outweighed the cost of a bag of rice, therefore creating greater isolation. Therefore, in creating Mummies Republic, I chose to intentionally close the gap between poverty, health, and faith, as they're all components of healthy living. And if I may give you an example of the co-founder of Apple, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
He was a Buddhist who practiced present moment focus and a life of simplicity. In the early days of computers, many people were skeptical about future technological developments, but his present moment focus, meditation, or prayer, as we say in my language, helped him remain focused and shut out the naysayers. His simplicity helped create the design framework for Apple products, where simplicity is key. So my point is that well-being is a kaleidoscope of human experiences, and for the best outcomes, all parts must be recognized with equal measures. And that's where it stemmed.
That's fun. That was really, really good. I think, you know, you're providing a service, or you're providing support for a group of people who may, you know, struggle to get support, and I think that's fantastic. What I'd be interested in knowing now is how sort of IAPT feed into that. So yes. Leila, would you be able to tell me a bit about how IAPT kind of, first of all, how IAPT got even to know about this this organisation, and also how have you kind of supported it?
So we have like a principal health psychologist and a perinatal lead, Katina Thomas and Vicky, and they made links with the church by attending, doing some outreach, and I think that's how the idea grew. We do recognise that people don't live in bubbles. You know, holistically within IAPT, we have to consider that there's other ways that people might engage or feel more confident to engage, and we value the community. The community is so important, and so I believe those links were formed a few years back. I think Winnie will have a bit more insight into how they initially were formed, but building on that, the groups have been happening at least 3 times a year. So we come in, we use the space within the church hall, which women can access with their children. They are supported to attend there and have some psychoeducation around mental health difficulties. It's very much led and informed by their needs, looking at stabilisation, looking at anxiety, looking at ways to manage different types of trauma. And it's a way that people can feel part of and included rather than excluded. I think it's a really safe space, and we've partnered with Mummies Republic because we're really behind what they do in terms of trying to empower and equip and just validate people that are on the margins.
Yeah, no, it sounds brilliant, and I suppose it'll be quite interesting to know kind of how many people have been able to come along for these, and how long are the groups, and just some brief details about what they receive. Leila, sorry.
So basically the groups normally run for up to 8 weeks. Is that right, Winnie? It's about up to 8 weeks. Sorry, Winnie. Okay.
Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry. Yes. We separate the 8 weeks between the winter months and the summer months, just so that people are equipped at both times within the school year to manage their load, basically. And then I think that the wonderful gift as well is that IAPT continues to track and trace our members throughout this whole process. So you have a beginning, which is in the September, and then by the end of summer, we can show the measurement of growth or always development, to be honest, always development that's occurred since their intervention onwards.
And
Yeah, go on.
yeah, thank you. Sorry, thanks, Winnie. And just to kind of clarify, there's an initial assessment. People will be assessed through IAPT, and then a range of options will be discussed in terms of what they're going to access. Sometimes people come through Winnie and then will come into IAPT. And sometimes people will come through IAPT and start with Mummies Republic before moving on to us. And I think obviously Annick has got the best kind of experience in terms of how that works and how it feels.
Yeah, and I suppose it's at that point actually that, Annick, would you be able to tell us a bit about how it's kind of helped you in your journey?
Yeah, of course. So I was facing quite a lot of difficulties with my health, with work. I didn't have friends that I felt like were supporting me, and obviously being a single mom, being on a journey of motherhood, I felt like this time I was open to more professional help. So I was getting one-to-one therapy, and through that they told me about Mummies Republic. But I think the thing that attracted me to Mummies Republic was the fact that it was mothers, a place where I could feel safe. It was in a safe environment, and I was ready. I wanted to have an experience of learning from other women and also change the life that I was living. And I felt like maybe working in a group of women that had these experiences, I could learn so much from them. Yeah.
That sounds brilliant. I mean, I could identify as a parent, and I know that, you know, I remember when my first was born, not having a clue what I should be doing, and you know, being told that I could go home now with this baby and my wife, and wondering, right, okay, what do I do now? So I think having that support is fantastic when, you know, and sort of linking in with your group, Mummies Republic, sounds really, really helpful. I was just wondering what kind of barriers have there been? Because I'm thinking about IAPT and how this is the first time I've ever heard of an IAPT service linking in with an organisation like this. So what would have made it easier for you to get this kind of support? Annick, sorry.
Pardon, sorry, what would make it easier?
Yeah, what would have made it easier for you to have got the support that you needed? Is there anything that would have made it easier for you to ask for help or engage with any other services?
I think with SLAM, they are so open and honest with where you can get the help that it was easy for me to get access to Mummies Republic. And they push you to want you to get the help because the help is there, and you have wonderful women who have overcome, who can give you their life experiences and show you the challenges that they have overcome. For me, my first day there, I felt very uncomfortable speaking in public, but I think it was the atmosphere, it was the approach, it was the fact that you had women of different experience, different ethnicity, and I could tell that they were all professional women who have achieved things in this life, but got stuck like me. And the fact that they made it such a safe and open space for us to all feel comfortable and speak, not generally about our problems, but speak about where we want to go, the things that we can do to just escape from the everyday challenges that we were facing.
Yeah.
I think SLAM just made the whole experience so easy. You don't feel like it's a program that you're experiencing. It was a home away from home because you had women to speak to. I had professionals such as Leila, who I could always go back to if I felt uncomfortable, if I felt confused. I had Winnie, who, if I wanted to engage more in knowing how to be present in society and be present in my community, Winnie to guide me through those things. So the help is always there. It's just, if you want it, you shall receive it. And I think that was the bit that kept me motivated and gave me the willingness to be part of this group and get the help that I needed to change not my life for myself, but mainly for my son. I wanted to be the best representative of a black woman to him that I could be, and not let the fact that my experiences of struggle, of rejection get to me, because I found a group of women who accepted me for me and motivated me to build on the foundation that I set myself already.
It sounds really good, and I mean what you're sharing there is a message of sort of community kind of support, and I think that's brilliant. I just had a thought about sort of COVID and how that has impacted on the group. I know that it's impacted on everything we do within as a therapist and within SLAM. I was just wondering if that's something that that maybe Leila could kind of reflect on, just how COVID has impacted on what you do.
So, Kevin, are you thinking from a perspective of how we work, or in terms of
how you work, how you've been able to keep the group going?
Well, so what's been happening after Annick engaged with Mummies Republic, she's been having some individual therapy with myself, and which is trauma focused. We've had to do things online, so we're working remotely, so video calls, phone calls. We found obviously with COVID, it's been quite a challenge. Annick was a frontline worker during that period of time, and supporting her through that has been a real eye opener for me. You know, she's incredibly resilient, and I think liaising with our career coaches has been integral to because in terms of the holistic support with employment, making sure that risk assessments are carried out, making sure she's supported when she's at work, making sure she feels valued and her voice is heard in that space as well. Also in terms of housing, there was a range of different agencies that we liaised with, you know, to support Annick, and we, as well as doing the therapeutic work, you couldn't ignore all of those things happening around Annick, and I think that was really important, that we built and formed those relationships and gave her support to make sure that her views and her needs were heard and expressed and taken on board.
So do you think, I mean, because I know it sounds like there's two arms. Winnie, would you want to add something to that?
Yes, I think COVID has validated some of the concerns that we've been expressing for a very long time about the nature of poverty. Leila, you've touched on a bit about frontline services, but one of the things that we touched upon, particularly with migrant communities, is the need for Wi-Fi to be considered as a utility. We converse so much with our disparate families by WhatsApp and so forth, and now statutory services are having to use those similar platforms to engage with these women. But how do you engage with people if they cannot afford Wi-Fi, if they cannot afford a phone? You know, so one of the first things we did during lockdown was to ensure that children were not left behind, and we didn't meet this government rhetoric of a missing generation of children in education, because all that needs to happen is for those provisions to be put in place. And it's a wider discussion, but it's just about how do we work together as statutory services, third sector and so forth, to identify these needs and say, here, let's close this gap, which is why our services work so seemingly together, because we've just closed the gaps in a natural way. And you validate our experiences. And Leila speaking up for Annick with statutory service for housing and so forth. These are basic foundational needs. Should a third person have to speak out for someone over basic needs? No, but the necessity is there, and we're just grateful to have that relationship. But of course. I mean,
it sounds like you're creating a voice for some of these mums on the margins, as you kind of that's how you described it, and I think that's brilliant, because when people are struggling with their mental health and struggling with everyday challenges, it's quite hard to find that voice and feel confident enough to ask for some of those basic needs.
To be honest, Annick speaks up. These women, they speak up. It's just that the system that we're residing in is not designed in a way to hear them. Yeah. So even last year, we had to make sure we took our women to Parliament so that they can speak to parliamentarians to hear that universal credit does not work, because it was impacting on their mental health. Yeah. And therefore, it's systems such as these that then create workload in your house, in mental health services, because someone that's rich, that has no idea about poverty, has designed a system that says, you need a computer for me to engage with you. And if you don't have that computer, I'm going to take your money away. I will sanction you for 4 weeks. If you're sanctioning a single unit household with children, who are you sanctioning really? And therefore you create these problems that spiral out of control and create unnecessary workloads where we could be dealing with other conditions. Yeah.
No, I think it's COVID really that's highlighted these inequalities, and we're seeing that throughout the whole of mental health services, whether it's primary care, secondary care, and it's great that you're kind of highlighting that. And I'm just thinking, what could we do to kind of reduce those inequalities? I mean, I know there's stuff there that from, say, what the council could do, what government can do. What about us as kind of secondary care providers? And I mean, I was just thinking, Annick, what would you have wanted? What do you think we would need to change to make these services more available for you? Oh, you're on mute again.
Sorry. I think firstly is people feeling comfortable with therapy, understanding that slam is not necessarily associated with anything negative. There's so much positivity around it, and I think people like me speaking up about it, people like Leila, Winnie representing it, if we can continue to go down that route, I think people will be more comfortable with the idea of getting help and seeking help. And places like Mummies Republic, the environment that it's set in doesn't give it that mental health, I don't know the word I'm looking for, doesn't give it that mental health image, where it's more of a problem that we can all solve together. At the end of the day, it is a society that we all live in, and a society where we should be open to helping each other, because often in our job roles, often in our homes, that's what we are trained to do, to be there for each other as human beings. I think for me, going through this experience, I have learned that my struggle, I have learned to relax around people, and I have learned to understand that it's okay to have my problems. And yeah.
I mean, it sounds very much like you're talking about destigmatizing mental health.
Yeah.
And especially within the BAME community, but I presume it's kind of all ethnicities as well. It's not just BAME.
Can be victims of this. It doesn't matter what race you are or what age you are. I think it's important that we value people when they are at their lowest and not reject them. And I think with Mummies Republic and Slam, they accept you for who you are. And I think that is the biggest thing that attracted me to it. You come as you are, and then we'll build you up to make you better.
Yeah. So that sounds brilliant. Leila, it looks like you want to add something.
Yeah, I'm always just so inspired when I hear Annick speak. I think she's amazing. I think in response to your questions, it's a systems approach, Kevin. We have to recognise the historical context. We live in a world where there is discrimination. We live in a world there where some people are more oppressed than others. We know that not everyone's getting the same experience, not having the same outcomes from therapy. We know there's a stigma. We know that there's more people represented in inpatient services in prisons and in forensics that look like me. So fundamentally, there's a fear about engaging and approaching. We need to be working with our communities. We need to be engaging with them. We need to be alongside them. We need to be present and visible. We don't need to be away in any hospitals. We need them to know that we are with them, we are for them, we look like them, we represent their voices and we value them. That is core to what we need to do. And I believe in our service, that is the real culture that I'm really privileged to experience and throughout SLAM. But I think there's a systems change. This is a systemic issue. This is a societal issue. This is a structural issue. There's a lot of work to be done, but I'm really grateful and of being within this service to know that there is hope for this change, and having the privilege of working with Annick and alongside amazing people like Annick and Winnie. And seeing these changes and seeing people get their lives back and seeing them recover and know their identities and have confidence in who they are and that they can contribute and be valued in society. That is absolutely fundamental to what we do.
That's brilliant. Yes, you know, that's true. And Winnie, would you like to add something?
Yeah, just to piggyback off the both of my ladies here. Working with SLAM has validated so much of the work that we do. We can sometimes be relegated as, oh, you're just third sector. There's no structures to anything that you're doing. But working with SLAM validates much of the work that we do. For example, your diversity is essential. It's helped take Mummies Republic from level 5 to level 10, in the sense that your clinicians that you bring to us, they understand the language of people of faith. They understand the language of people from different backgrounds. So if a woman says, my heart hurts, she's not saying I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
They can unpick it to say, okay, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
If a woman is speaking about her faith and say, in these difficult times, I talk to God.
Yeah.
They will use the language of faith to help unpack the language of psychology, so that the woman can be taught how to move into her journey.
Yeah.
For myself as a practitioner, I knew that my household, my members, they needed holidays. You know the rhetoric outside, it's all about meritocracy. People that don't have money should not have access to well-being. That's the message that we receive out there. So it's difficult to approach a funder and say, can I have money to take my people out on holiday? You know?
Yeah.
But after a session with the mental health, the perinatal team, the way they broke it down, they said for well-being, you have to remove yourself from that stressful environment. That validates the need for a holiday. And then since then, for the past 3 years, we've been taking our families on retreats, the Butlins, and this changes the family's outcomes for the rest of the year, you know? Just simple human experiences, and take them out from food poverty, from their isolation. It changes everything. And then also, this is for Katina and to Leila. I had one very difficult case where a mother had been a victim of child abuse in her younger years.
Yeah. And
this made summer holidays a difficult time for her.
Yeah.
She never went away on holidays with her children at all, but she heard about our holidays and she's like, I'd like to come along. But let me warn you, I scream in my sleep when I'm not in my own environment. I self-harm, I this, I that, and that.
Yeah.
I'm taking 15 other families on Butlins trip. How am I going to look after this one individual as well as maintaining the well-being and safety of the others?
I'm very much sorry. I mean, it's really good, and it sounds great that you're able to take them out on holiday, and I think you're right, and it's good that you're accepting as well, because there's a message there of being able to accept all the people that like walk through that door and meet their needs. And I think that's the real message that we want to share, is that that our services should be working with organisations such as yours to be more inclusive, to kind of challenge all those inequalities that are coming up.
And you enable the framework for safety and the well-being.
Yes, exactly. The time is up now. So thank you very much for coming in and sharing the good work that you're doing. Well done, Annick. you know, this was fantastic. Well done, Leila. Well done, Winnie. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay then. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.